This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We're kicking off hour 2 of Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. What's that for?
Just hour number 2. It's been going by.
We're kicking it off. We're ready to go. And coming up in 30 minutes, we will dive deeper into Monday Night Football. Lions-Ravens going head-to-head. Josh Appelbaum will give us some market insights. We'll have best bets coming up at the end of the hour. Touch on a little bit of college football as well. But because last hour we did have some breaking news with Nick Bosa that the belief is that he has torn his ACL. That is one of a handful of major injuries that we have seen come down the pipeline. You also mentioned CeeDee Lamb with the high ankle sprain. He's going to miss at least this week, but we'll see how long that prognosis will ultimately be. James Conner for the Arizona Cardinals and Najee Harris for the Los Angeles Chargers, both done for the season. Conner, season-ending ankle injury. Harris, the Achilles, and you knew that was bad instantly when he went down, took the helmet off, covered his face, had to be carted off the field. So a handful of marquee major names that go down in week 3.
So I wanted to focus on Bosa really quick and just get your thoughts on it because defensively, because he injured himself pretty early, if I remember correctly, in this game, right? So they played the vast majority of the game without him. 4.1 yards per play allowed, under 200 or under 300 total yards, 260 in totality allowed for Arizona. One of the things that I keep harping on with your team here is that you guys have such a good defense that if Bosa's not going to be out there, can they still play at this same level? It's a very small sample size against what seems to be a very middling team of the Arizona Cardinals that says this is still one of the best defenses in the NFL, even without him.
And like he hasn't had the impact to start the season that I thought that he would be to begin with, to be honest with you. I think it is a massive loss.
Yes.
But to your point, they have been pretty good without him really making his mark in a major way through 3 weeks of the season. I'm not going to downplay. I think this is major. It sucks. I honestly don't know how the 49ers are 3-0 to begin with to this point. They have gotten out of a lot of jams and been very fortunate, but I still have high hopes for the defense even with his injury.
Yeah, second in terms of pressures on the team is just second, right behind Bryce Huff. And you were all over that when that initially occurred. Like, hey, man, this guy could be pretty good for you. So that's going to be interesting to see how the trickle-down effect of what Bryce Huff's production is going to be like as a pass rusher if there's not another presence to worry about from that standpoint. For overall defenders, by PFF standards, the third best defender on the team, Fred Warner leads the way with a PFF defensive grade of 92.8. I will ask, too, and this is what I was going to bring up as well, like the trickle effects. There's so many different ways you could look at it. If San Francisco is going to continue on this path of taking advantage of a soft schedule, let's say they maintain their spot as a top 5 team defensively without Bosa on the field, could you make a stronger case now for Fred Warner to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, considering how good he has been? I think it's hard for a linebacker to eventually get the award.
That's
because,
what I was going to say.
Yeah, you're not getting sacks. You're generally not getting interceptions. It's all about tackles and how well you play. But if he's going to be the best defender on the defense that just lost its best pass rusher, and they're still going to be up there statistically, I wonder if he's a little bit more live to win the award.
I would find it hard to believe he would get there because of some of the guys that are on the top of the odds board barring injury, right? Yeah. Odds board, excuse me. Like if Micah Parsons continues to pile up sacks, if Aiden Hutchinson ends up having a great season, or Myles Garrett and this defense continue to build up the way they do, I just don't think that Fred Warner's comped numbers are going to be enough for that. That's just my personal opinion. I hope so. Please ball out, Fred Warner. I would love it. But that's just an argument, at least for me, I wouldn't want to get behind. Another injury of note as well, Mike Evans for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers injured his hamstring. Could tell it was bad. He, too, was emotional. Threw a water bucket through his helmet when he was walking down the tunnel. He missed time previously with hamstrings as well. Remember last year, he missed, I think it was 3 games with a hamstring. That was his right hamstring. This is his left, so at least it's not a re-aggravation of a previous injury or anything like that. But for a Buccaneers team that could really use it with all the other injuries that they have, it's a big blow.
Could just use positive news when it comes to injury. So next week, Tampa Bay gets, they get Philly next week, I believe. Is that what it is? Yeah, they're Philly's at Tampa Bay. Philly's a 3-point favorite, total of 44.5. Or 43.5, depending on where you look. I really like this Buccaneers team a lot. At some point, the shoe's got to drop, though, right? Like, you can't just keep getting away with these victories that you keep coming by the way that you are, while also stockpiling injuries at key positions. We know about the offensive line. Now, of course, wide receiver room. Godwin is on his way back, but he's still not fully healthy. Now, Evans is gone.
Tristan Wirfs, like on their way back, but still not here yet.
Buka was dealing with something going into the game yesterday as well. So at some point, you got to ask, like, all right, like, is this it? Is this where we're finally going to see the shoe drop and this team's not going to be able to keep this up as 3-point dogs at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, who obviously just came back and beat the Rams this weekend? Be very tempted to look at Philly this week, just given everything we know at this point right now. You can't keep doing this, right? It's the the Breaking Bad thing. You can't keep getting away with this.
Also, because we were talking about the 49ers, they win the game outright, do not cover the 2.5, and that was one of 4 losses for the top circa million picks this week. Those have been brutal on the consensus plays to this point. The Chargers, the only of the 5 picks to cover. Cowboys -1 were the second most selected. Rams plus the 3.5, worst beat of the year so far and maybe all season long with how that thing transpired. Jordan Davis running back the blocked kick. Texans plus 1.5 and the 49ers once again. So 1 and 4, the top selected teams in circa millions. And this is the first time that we actually got a little bit of chaos in Circa Survivor. The Seattle Seahawks dominated. They were the most selected, and it's like with a bullet, not even close. More than 6,600 people were on Seattle. We and a number of other people were on the Buffalo Bills, as well as those second most selected. The Bucs get by with 2,033, albeit barely. But then the Packers and Falcons both drop, and that was big for Grandissimo as well. 8 $100,000 entries out on Green Bay, 2 on Atlanta, who just got dominated by the Carolina Panthers. The Texans, Cowboys, Patriots, Raiders, Titans, Rams, and Dolphins combined for another 115 plus 13 no picks. So 3,124 eliminated this week. That is the most by far we've had.
Nice. All right. So what's our in theory, our entry is worth $1,600, something like that? Come on now. There we go. It's going up here.
It's building.
Yeah, it's building. Absolutely.
Better than us splitting the $30.
So I've called it the last 2 weeks. I will say, I don't know if this counts as chaos. Next week does look a little sticky when it comes to Circa Survivor, depending on what you have used already to this point.
So if we had 6,655 on Buffalo, on Seattle, how many are going to be on Buffalo this week against that same Saints team?
I mean, I would assume quite a few, because I think
laying 15.5.
Yeah, and the debate for you was just these last 2 weeks. It was, do you use them against Miami on Thursday night, or do you save them for New Orleans next week?
I think they also have the Patriots next week too.
They have the Patriots after that, which divisional game, Patriots, I guess a little bit more competent. We'll see. Probably should have beat the Steelers, been going on. So maybe you don't want to use it there. So you wanted to save it for these two moments. So, like, we're of the ilk, and I think, did you do this with your dad, both of them, with Buffalo, or did you save one for Seattle,
I did
correct?
one on Seattle,
okay.
Yes.
So, an entry for you and what you're having. Now, I'd assume next week you're going to be with everybody else on Buffalo. It makes the most sense that if you did not use them. So, dare we say, I mean, you're probably going to get more than 7,000 on Buffalo next week.
Which does that mean for you?
Go Saints, absolutely.
I was going to say, that's immediately what you and everyone else who used Buffalo on Thursday Night Football is going to be thinking.
Come on now. Yeah, of course.
But I just don't think it can happen. I'm sorry.
Just like the Rams?
Save it.
Just like the Rams?
Save this audio for when inevitably I lose one of my
You looked me in the eye yesterday and told me the Rams were safe.
If you don't know what we're talking about, rewind. You can always download Money Moves in podcast form or the VSiN Watch app. You can watch all of our shows on demand.
The 38-minute mark of hour 3 for Live Bet Sunday.
Called out. And you're not wrong. Again, the Gucci curse is real. Let's real quickly make sure
Saints were really bad,
we start our discussion on Monday Night Football. We also, speaking of, if you want to go back and watch, we had Russell Brown of Lions Wire give kind of his perspective on how he thinks the game is going to go. We'll have Josh Appelbaum again in a little bit. But the Ravens, a 4.5-point favorite in this one, was as high as 6 at one point, but 4.5, the overwhelming number now. The total has come up from 50.5 to 53.5. And this is a very high total, but I have also heard a lot of smart people think that this could be like a 30-plus point game on both sides. So how do you see it?
I mean, I think I keep invoking Week 1 Sunday Night Football for Baltimore and Buffalo. I think it's going to be a similar thing. When you get high-end offenses like this that face one another, it doesn't really matter. I say this a lot. I said it a lot over the summer, and it's kind of started to come to fruition in this NFL, which is just a defense is only as good as the offense it's facing. If you're facing an elite enough offense, it does not matter if they can spread you out, if they're successful, if their play calling is above average, you're going to be in a position where you're probably going to put forth a below average defensive effort. And I think it's going to be the case for both of these teams. So definitely would agree with the market pushing that total up. Obviously would agree with taking 6. That seemed like a lot for Baltimore, just given what we know. But I think these two teams are somewhat similar to one another in that we have 2 performances for both of them through 2 weeks where you don't really know what to take from it.
Yeah.
You had Baltimore blow that game against Buffalo. They scored a ton of points, but their defense looked pretty shoddy. And then they had a ton of red zone issues and didn't look particularly great against Cleveland last week. Same thing with Detroit. You had a game in which you looked explosive and you blew out the Chicago Bears, but then you also had a game in which the Green Bay Packers absolutely thumped you and you could do nothing. The truth is somewhere in between, but I think this is probably right where it should be priced in terms of side and total, to be honest with you. I've got a prop that I like, but side and total, I feel like we're right where it should be.
We'll hit best bets at the end of the hour. The Ravens scored 40 and 41 points back-to-back weeks, 41 on that Cleveland defense we just saw be so good for all the other games that they've played to this point. Lions coming off the 52-point performance, albeit against Chicago, and they had a very low-scoring first week. So what is their offense really? All good questions. Lamar Jackson, by the way, on Monday Night Football, you love these. 22 passing touchdowns without an interception in his career on Monday night. Longest streak of passing touchdowns without a pick in Monday Night Football history. I'm always here for the obscure stuff for you.
That's Lamar?
Yep.
Something about Monday night.
Monday night.
If he had played this on Sunday, he probably would have thrown a pick.
What can you say?
But
Although
on Monday.
prime time is great for him. Monday Night Football, by the way, just got better with Bracco. Every NFL player prop tonight, as you're going through, is priced at a fair -110. Price instead of the inflated -120 plus you might see elsewhere, giving you more value on every play. And right now, get Bracco's welcome bonus when you use our code VSIN for a 50% deposit match up to $100 for new users. Monthly rewards, whether you win or lose as well. Sign up today. Start betting smarter at playbracco.com. That's playbracco.com, promo code VSIN. We will be right back on Money Moves, diving into some of the money moves that we have seen in college football from the opener Sunday. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Rolling along here on Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel. Thanks for hanging out with us. SiriusXM Channel 158, YouTube TV, any of our local affiliates. Remember, you can always watch us on demand as well on the VSiN Watch app and live radio or audio. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Time to get into a little bit of college football action. And a lot of games last week, JVT, as they do every week, come down to what number you got. I think one great example is Oklahoma-Auburn. Did you get away with one, laying 6.5 if you took the if you laid it with Oklahoma, or did you have a tough push if you were the dog getting stuck with 7? So a lot of these numbers do matter, and on Sunday is when we see them all come out, and this initial shift one way or another can be critical. So let's look at some of the biggest movers to this point with Do You Approve This Move?
Odds move up, odds move down. Let's see where the odds are moving today in Do You Approve This Move?
So lots of them to get into here, JVT, and I know some moves have been bigger than others, but one subtle move that I think is important to note is with the game of the weekend, number 6 Oregon at number 3 Penn State, where the Nittany Lions were laying 3, and it's been pushed out to that 3.5. Whiteout game, night game in Happy Valley, Penn State coming off the bye, but Oregon has had the 4-game sample size. Neither of these teams have really played anybody.
Correct.
But Oregon's played the bigger brand names. How popular do you think that plus 3.5 is going to be for some people?
I mean, I don't know. I would assume it's not too popular. Usually you have the market movers, but earlier in the week. So the fact that it's still potentially out there right now would give you some indication.
I'm thinking like from the public side. So the Sharps moved it out. Does the public jump in and say, you're giving me 3.5?
Yeah, I mean, and to that point here at Circa, it's at a flat 3. So I think we're probably just going to toggle back and forth between that. Usually juice 3, right, one side or the other. I don't think it'll get under 3. I think there's too much of a thirst out there. But for what it's worth, places like Superbook have some reduced juice on these college sides. They're at 3.5 -109, and on both sides, and there hasn't been a rush to go and grab that yet either. But this is the test that you talked about. Haven't really played anybody. Couldn't cover against Oregon State. A little troublesome there. But I think for the most part,
plus 35.5. Give it to me.
As somebody who came into the season thinking, look, I'm not too big on Oregon, but the Bear, Chris Felic, came on with us one week and told us, hey, schedule's not really that tough. Could still win a ton of games. And if somebody thinks Penn State is the real deal, like, this is it. This is time for me to find out whether my theory is correct and whether the Penn State Nittany Lions are a true national contender and better by a good margin. then won Oregon.
Yeah, that was your national championship pick in the college football betting guide, I remember. How about this one? So a 2-2 West Virginia team just got torched by Kansas, and they're taking money early. Why? Because they're hosting the Utah Utes, who just had a brutal performance of their own on Saturday. Home loss to Texas Tech, 34-10 as a 3-point home favorite. Yeah. Mostly playing Tech's backup quarterback, Will Hammond, who came in the third quarter. Ugly day for Devin Dampier. Do you approve this move?
I mean, one loss for our Utes, and all of a sudden they're unranked, and it's just falling out. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So let me ask you, they've played at UCLA, they've played at Wyoming. Would you say a first conference start on the road is something that would work against Dampier in a situation like this?
What do you mean?
Well, it's a tough road spot, right? It's a road game. They've played 2 true road games, but a conference road game is a little bit different, or no?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's all I was asking, is because if you look at this from that perspective, it's a tough road spot for them. But either way, it's been somewhat disappointing when you're looking at this from the perspective of Utah. So I think you can perform better in that regard, but I still believe that this team has some really strong upside.
I'm just looking at this number, and I think Utah is significantly better than they showed last week, just in general. And so I'm a little bit surprised, especially given what just happened to West Virginia, that the market has moved against them this much. Yeah. TCU, ASU, great game. Fox is getting all the good Big 12 games, which is kind of annoying. TCU 3-0 coming off nice win over SMU. ASU's lone loss, that crazy game at Mississippi State. Sam Leavitt seemed to get back to form. This has moved out in favor of the Sun Devils here from 1.5 to 2.5.
This is one where I didn't really have too much of a read on. You've seen Arizona State more obviously up close, but that was away from home in a really tough spot. Now coming here back at home, laying under a field goal. Market thinks TCU is a little bit better. I would tend to agree with that, but these conference games to the Big 12 can get pretty wild. I would assume that we're going to toggle back and forth here a little bit, but it seems pretty tempting for Arizona State at home in a conference game to lay a short number.
Yeah, I feel like the game at Mississippi State was kind of an anomaly, especially like the numbers for Sam Leavitt in that first half at Mississippi State up until the last minute and a half or something like that. He had just 7 pass yards. They came out looking really weird offensively, and we've seen each of the last 2 weeks them get back to form. Sam Leavitt, whether it was against Texas State or this past week in the big win, 221 yards passing, 1 touchdown, another 62 on the ground in a score. The run game as a team was clicking as well, 179 total yards on the ground. So I lean ASU, but these conference games, the Big 12 is so hit or miss. Anything can happen, and so I don't know. I feel very similar about this game. The way I did against Baylor was that it's going to be a field goal game one way or the other. I just don't know which way it'll be.
And I mean, the total is 54.5. You can make the argument, dude, just bet this in game because it's going to be pretty volatile.
Sure, and that was what we talked about last week too. I feel like the only way to bet ASU Baylor was if you wanted to do it in game. How about Ohio State at Washington? So people are betting against the number 1 team in the country here. Circa actually opened this game Ohio State 10. 9.5 was the prevailing opening number. Down to 8 at a lot of shops right now. And I know Husky Stadium's a tough place to play. It'll be rocking with the top-ranked team in the country coming to town. But are you surprised to see Julian Sayin and the Ohio State top-ranked Buckeyes getting faded in the market?
I mean, a little bit. You look at Washington, and especially on defense, for a top contender in a conference, if you will, 36th in EPA per play overall is not really great. I would assume that if you're Ohio State, you can find some success here against this Washington group. But look, it's a big number, 8.5, total 52.5. I think that there's maybe some thought of coming in and saying, you know what? Let's just grab this big number here in a conference game with a home dog who at least has a little bit of history of performing well in a situation like that. But I don't feel anything strongly. And again, I mean, what do we got? 8.5 right across the market. In some spots, 7, or it should be 7.5. We're still above a key number. Yeah. It's not like we're really moving in a really strong direction.
The 2-2 Razorbacks blew out their cupcakes the first 2 weeks of the season, followed it up with 2 rough one-score losses, lost 41-25 at Ole Miss, and by 1 point on Saturday, 32-31 at Memphis. They're getting played early against Notre Dame. Home game, hosting the Irish. We talked about that total, 64.5. Yep. But this open Notre Dame minus 6.5, and I'm actually seeing at DraftKings a 4.5, market-wide largely 5.5.
It's got to be about this defense, right? I mean, Freeman's they're talking about him taking over the defense, and he kind of refuses still at this point. They're giving up these explosive plays. Can you really trust in a true road spot like this to lay a number, even with a team that has the quality that they have on offense with Notre Dame? I think that's probably what you're seeing here a little bit.
Yeah, I think both teams can score.
Yep.
So that's why the total is what it is too. Alabama and Georgia. So Georgia opened a 3.5-point favorite. Now we're sitting flat 3. Both teams coming off their bye. Market moving toward Alabama, though, as I referenced, who has looked much better since that opening night embarrassment against Florida State. Georgia, last time we saw them, the overtime thriller at Tennessee. The 3 feels a little low for me on Georgia. Or how do you feel?
Oh, no, I would tell you to wait because there's a couple of spots that have a 2.5 that's juiced. So let's see if it gets there.
Get to the minus 110.
I mean, now this was, my brain is mush. This was a road spot for Georgia against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. But they looked the part on offense. The defense, the Vols generated some explosives, obviously stayed inside of the number except for the lowest point, and that was a push. I can understand your thinking, though, which is, hey, do we really think Alabama's better than Georgia if this dip below that 3? Or depending on how you rate home field, they're at least equals to one another. And I would say I think Georgia's better.
That, and do we think that Ty Simpson is going to be able to do what Joey Aguilar did on the secondary? Yeah. I would
just
say
throwing
no.
moon balls and getting one-on-one wins and doing, So
that's how I see it, at least. So, yeah, the 2.5, if we can get down to a minus 110 and not have it be juiced at that number, I am game. Any other of these games? We've only got 90 seconds left, but any of these other moves that really caught your attention?
I mean, not really. I think you mentioned it in passing, but I do wonder with Mike Gundy's life on the line here from a coaching standpoint what Oklahoma State has anymore. I mean, I know the numbers moved against them, but are we in quit territory already with a dude who's kind of doing stodgy old man, I'm not going anywhere type of deal?
Yeah.
This seems like a team that is not focused on football more than their coach's status and what it means for the program.
Baylor bet out, as you were referencing or alluded to, from 17.5 to 20.5 right now, but it has been ugly for Gundy's squad to this point. And quick reminder, guys, with the NFL and college football season rolling, every snap brings new opportunities. Give yourself an added edge by joining us here at VSiN. Right now, you can save 40% on your football season special with the Money Moves promo code MONEY, MONEY. You'll get VSiN Pro access to everything we do across each and every sport from now through February in the Super Bowl. So that means you get all of our daily best bets, sure, but all of the best bets from every VSiN show, expert host, a leaderboard of our top players, real-time DraftKings and Circa betting splits updated each 5 minutes, proven betting systems and pro tools at VSiN.com, plus the 24/7 video replays, live breakdowns on the VSiN Watch app. Don't wait. Lock it in now. 40% off today when you use our promo code MONEY at VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. And you can put that to use today. We've got a full Monday Night Football breakdown, multiple angles from side and total, as well as a prop betting perspective up on VSiN.com. And we're going to get into more of that next when VSiN's own Josh Appelbaum stops by the show. Stay with us.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Monday Night Football is upon us as we welcome you back here to VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. The Lions and Ravens set to go head-to-head this evening on primetime. Baltimore, a 4.5-point home favorite, high total at 53.5. And to help us talk through not only the line moves, but what those market moves mean, Josh Appelbaum joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on X at Josh_Insights, host of the All Systems Go podcast, and has a write-up up at VSiN.com right now, breaking down all of his thoughts on Monday Night Football. Josh, welcome in. We did mention earlier the moves on the side and total in this game, but we want to get your perspective on how that changes things for you as a bettor. Let's start with the spread from as high as, I want to say, 6.5 in favor of the Baltimore Ravens to this 4.5.
Yeah, Stormy, JVT, great to be with you. And you pretty much nailed it, Stormy. We've seen a big move here, an adjustment toward the Detroit Lions. Now, this is meaningful to me because when you see a team that's getting, a majority of tickets and the line moves in their favor, that's kind of just standard movement. That's what you would expect. But we're actually seeing this reverse line movement go toward Detroit Lions because, as you mentioned, Stormy, Baltimore opens as high as minus 6.5. Those 6.5s immediately got scooped up down to 6, 5.5, 5. I mean, you're looking at 4.5 right now. If you look at the juice on our VSiN board, it's juiced toward the Detroit side. So between now and kickoff, maybe it gets down to 4. I think if you're going to play the points, which is what I'm doing with Detroit, you want to see that happen and get some closing line value and late validation that the line continues to move toward the Lions. But the big angle for me here, Stormy, is that public is still going Ravens. Ravens are getting right now 57% of spread bets at DraftKings, yet this line is moving toward the Lions. You look at some factors here with the Lions that get me excited. One would be just a contrarian dog in prime time, heavily bet game. Public's on Ravens. I want to be on the other side. You also look at the bet splits where you guys are at circa. This is pretty big discrepancy. Only 27% of spread bets are on Detroit tonight, but it accounts for 75% of the dollars. That's a big, big split. Tells me the big money wagers where you guys are at are also taking the points here. And then we layer in a bunch of system matches. So if you look at primetime dogs so far this year, they're 6-3 against the spread. They're 53%, just slightly overcoming that magic number of 52.38% since 2020. Short road dogs getting 6 or less. They're 54%, 5% ROI since 2019. Here's another angle. You have two teams that just had huge blowout wins. When both teams are coming off a blowout win of 20 points or more, take the road dog. Now, it doesn't happen often, but it's 8-4 against the spread, 67% since 2018. You layer in Dan Campbell. He's been a really good coach covering numbers as a dog, 23-11 ATS, getting points, 68% with Detroit. Lamar Jackson, we all know his great number, Jackson as a dog. I think he's like 12-1, but actually when he's laying points 4.5 or more, he's only 18-26 against the spread, 41%. Bill Vinovich, Stormy, I know you track these refs. Vinovich is a big road ref, 57% against the spread to the road team. Lions are also a dog who can score system match. If you can put up points, right now they're fourth in the NFL, nearly 35 points a game. Increases your chances you can keep pace or backdoor cover. So I'm taking the points with the Lions. In pretty much 4.5 everywhere, Stormy, but FanDuel, I believe, is offering 5.5 right now, around -118, -120. So shop around, but I'll take the points with the Lions.
Fun fact, JVT, Bill Vinovich, former Mountain West official. Gone on, done Super Bowls, all that stuff, but started in the M-Dub.
The second most successful former Mountain West employee behind you.
Behind Josh Allen.
Yeah, behind you. No, he's not an employee. Yeah. Not an employee at the time. His special designation there. All right, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Steelers stunk, but they got the win against your Patriots. What do we make of this spot against the Vikings?
Yeah, I like this spot in favor of the Vikings, actually. I mean, Carson Wentz, believe it or not, played really well. 14-20, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But you know what? I'm going to do a little humble brag. There's a section in my book, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook, that looks at situational angles. And one of the ones I really like, international series games. This game is going to be played in Dublin, Ireland. It's the early 9:30 game if you're on the East Coast like me. But this is a really sharp dog to fave line move in favor of Minnesota. We opened this game. Pittsburgh actually a short favorite, laying 1.5. Some books even -2.5 Pittsburgh. We've now flipped to Minnesota -2.5 here on not the road, but a true neutral site. So dog to fave line move toward the Vikings. Wentz played pretty well. Here's the kicker. International series favorites. When you are playing a game outside of the country, since 2017, the favorite in those games, they're winning nearly 80% of the time. They're covering nearly 67% of the time. So I'm going to split the difference here and go money line on Minnesota. It's really not that bad of a price, around -140. Non-conference favorites also do well in these matchups. We've seen non-conference favorites straight up go 8-3 this year, and they're 70% historically. And if you look at the splits at circa, only about half the tickets, but more than 90% of the money line dollars are going with Minnesota. So I don't know how Kevin O'Connell keeps doing it. You put in a new quarterback and he just keeps rolling. But I like this move toward Minnesota. It's an international series favorite. I'm going to money line the Vikings here.
Josh Appelbaum joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Good pull by you. Reminder, everybody, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook out and available now for purchase. Let's keep going on week 4 because I know there are a handful of games that you're already targeting. And while we talked about the Lions tonight on Monday Night Football, they've got the Browns coming up this week, and that is one that caught your eye.
Yeah, definitely caught my eye, and really the Browns came up absolutely massive yesterday, coming up, and they're down 10-0. I'm holding a Lions or a plus 8.5 ticket there with the Browns. I'm like, oh, they're not going to cover. They score twice, they come back, they walk it off. I mean, what a great win, and condolences to anyone who had the Packers in Survivor. That's really a tough one to lose there. But I'm going to look at maybe the points again here with Cleveland. I mean, the early market move is toward the Browns. Maybe this line was just a little bit too high when it opened because you had a lot of openers, Stormy, where it was Detroit around -10.5 at home. And immediately that opening number got hit, brought it down all the way to 8.5, which is where we're seeing right now. And I see a couple books that are maybe juicing a little bit toward the Browns side. So we'll see if this thing continues to move toward Cleveland or if you see some buyback, bring it back up to around 9 for Detroit. But if you look at the early tickets here, you're only getting around 40% of bets, but more than half the money coming in here on Cleveland. You also look at dogs with a severe line move of 2 points or more off the opener. The line's moving in your direction. Half move here or there, juice, that's notable, but 2 points, that's a pretty big adjustment. Teams with a 2-point line move that are dogs, they're 56% against the spread since 2018. And on the year, guys, it's been a little bit, as a contrarian bettor, not great. You have favorites 26 and 21 ATS, 55%. Unders have been pretty good, though, too, also 55%. But if you look at isolate the big dogs, the dogs that are getting 6.5 or more, they've really barked. You saw the Jets do it yesterday as well. They're 6-4 ATS this year. They're 56% ATS since 2022. And Stormy, you hit the nail on the head. A little bit of a rest advantage. You have Cleveland coming off a big win at home, playing yesterday. Detroit on the road tonight. They're now in a short week. I'm going to have an early lean and might turn into an official best bet here on Cleveland and the points.
All right, what about the Colts and the Rams? By market standards, Colts have been upgraded in a really big way over the last few weeks, Josh, and now they get L.A.
Yeah, they get LA here in JVT. I mean, there's a great tweet by Matt Humans. I also had the points with the Rams yesterday, plus 3.5. I mean, is that not the worst bad beat anyone has suffered in quite a while? Also, the big man running like 18 miles an hour, incredible, but just get on the ground. You don't have to score that touchdown. You could have still won the game and covered. Anyway, I will never get over that Rams bad beat yesterday. But anyway, here's a chance to bet against them and back the Colts. The Rams open this game around -5.5 at home. That's quickly been adjusted down to 3.5. Again, pay attention to the juice on the VSiN board. It's very heavy here on the Colts, plus 3.5, -118. So a lot of times when I join you guys, my goal is to highlight some games where you can bet it early in the week and maybe beat the closing line, pick off hooks, key numbers. If you like the Colts, you may not want to wait too much further because 3.5 could get down to 3 based on that juice. And if they lose by 3, you want to cover based on the hook. So lines going toward the Colts. They have some pretty good splits at DraftKings, 67% of early spread bets, 85% spread dollars. Circa, only half the tickets, more than 80% of the money. They would also match dog with a severe line move, short road dog getting 6 or less, dog who can score system match. They're averaging nearly 35 points a game right now. And maybe you get a lot of points in this one, guys, because you've also seen a big steam move toward the over. It opened as low as like 46.5. You're all the way at upwards of like 49.5 at this point. So a lot of bets and dollars here on the over. But I think the Colts here, based on the market movement, are taking the early sharp money.
Josh, great breakdown as always. We appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too. And remember, again, Josh Appelbaum's got the full Monday Night Football breakdown on VSiN.com right now. He's talked a lot about these betting splits. When you go to the website, in addition to all of the articles, we've got the access to those numbers, handle and ticket percentage from DraftKings. So you get the broader public market perspective. You also get a place like Circa that'll show you where the sharp bettors and big wagers are coming from. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get access to all of it. Little as $9.99 your first month. Again, VSiN.com/subscribe. Bill Vinovich, again, I would say probably behind. We got Josh Allen,
I said
Devontae
employees.
Adams,
I said employees.
Aaron Judge, Xander Schauffele.
You're listing off athletes. I'm talking about people affiliated with the conference from an employment standpoint.
Craig Thompson, the GOAT.
Nah, I think you're up there. Probably number 2 or 3. As I like to humbly say, I think I'm probably the 13th most famous Bishop Gorman alum.
Who's number 1? Who's the most famous Bishop Gorman alum?
You can throw DeMarco Murray up there.
Yeah.
You can throw Joey Gallo up there. There's a couple, especially in athletics.
Some, yeah.
You got a few. There's Bryce Harper is not. No, Bryce Harper went to Bonanza. CSN and Nevada.
That's what I was. I love how he reps UNLV.
See?
That's pretty baller. But 13, come on.
Me?
Too low. Way too low.
Of course. I mean, I'm trying to be humble, you know? I mean, if you want to tell me I'm 1.
He's a rock star.
Yeah, if you want to tell me I'm 1, it's fine. I'll take it.
We got to step aside. Number 1 with a bullet.
That's right.
JVT, Bishop Gorman. Look out. We got to step aside. When we come back, best bets of the day, our final thoughts on Monday Night Football. Don't go anywhere. We're right here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we're wrapping up this Monday edition of Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. SiriusXM, channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, any of our great local affiliates across the country. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony, live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. And I know we talked about it a little bit with Josh from the market perspective last segment. Josh Appelbaum, our VSiN market insights expert. But let's talk more about Monday Night Football from game script, how we think things are going to go. The Ravens are laying 4.5 at home. Total in this one, 54.5 some places. So we talked about the move on this up to 53.5. It continues to go up. So that's a 4.5 point swing at some spots. We agree there are going to be points, but are there going to be this many points? That is a very, very high pre-flop total.
It is. And here at Circa, they did go to 54.5 for 4 minutes and 9 seconds.
And tick back down.
Yep, before going back down to 54. Coincidence? I think not. I think that means something here. No, I think that we're probably getting to the point where 54.5, probably a little too high. Again, now, you can get to the point where I think this is more in-game for me in that I'd rather just bet the side in game. I still think that from a pre-flop standpoint, instead of the 54.5 might be a little high, I still think we're getting that shootout, though.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to run to bet over 54.5, but I always give our guy, Doug Kazarian, credit for this. It might be the right side to bet under 54.5. Do you want to sit there with an under 54.5 later tonight and watch these two teams march up and down the field on one another?
After we just saw Detroit put up 52 on their own a week ago, and we know what the Ravens obviously have done in a handful of games offensively, combining for 81 points their last 2 games. So with that then, if we do think it's going to be a shootout of some sort, but we want to stay away from the total just from a precautionary standpoint, from a prop betting perspective, where then do you look? Do you look at the past props? Do you where stood out to you?
And really quick for a note, key-ish number is 55, so that's going to be the real tell for the market. If it gets to 55, then there's really some strong belief that this is going to be a high-scoring game. Okay, so I have one odd prop that I bet today, just looking over some stuff. I wanted to give this thing a shot. We'll look at Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson over 38.5 yards for his longest completion tonight.
Okay.
So, yeah. So there's
interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
Looking at a couple of different things. First off, injury report. We talked about this with our guy, Russell, that these guys are going to play. But just to reiterate for our audience, Jack Campbell, Taylor Decker, Kirby Joseph, DJ Reed, all with questionable tags, all going to play. When I was looking at a lot of stuff for the game, the things that stuck out were the secondary numbers for Detroit have not been particularly great. DJ Reed himself, a 48.3 PFF coverage grade, 7 receptions on 8 targets, 81 yards, 11.6 yards per reception allowed. Terrion Arnold, through 2 games, has been a little bit worse. 46.5 PFF grade in terms of coverage, 10 receptions allowed on 15 targets, 175 yards and a touchdown. That's 17.5 per reception. Detroit overall, 26th in EPA per pass allowed. So the whole point here being is that they are not particularly great in terms of coverage for the first 2 weeks. To stretch that out a little bit more, in 2 games against Chicago and Green Bay, Stormy, they have allowed long receptions of 48, 37, 26, and 22 yards. I could even go on with like 18, 15, 16. Whole point here being is that they tend to give up some explosive plays. You have Lamar Jackson, who has an average depth of target of just over 10.5 yards downfield, averaging 9 yards per attempt so far. You know that he's going to target guys deep downfield. You and I sat here, watched that Cleveland game. He was taking shots, completed one of them to get inside of the 5-yard line. He's pretty aggressive in throwing the ball downfield. I think that all leads me to saying, you know what? I'm not going to be surprised if he can generate at least one explosive here and get a reception of over 38.5 yards. So that's what it led me to. And that's the only thing that I have. Lamar Jackson over 38.5, longest completion tonight.
Okay, interesting.
We like it.
Everything that you laid out makes a ton of sense. I'm very. It's just such a rogue prop. That's not something that I was necessarily looking to. So it's interesting. You perked my ears up for something that I wasn't going toward. I wanted to get your opinion. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because I do have a defensive thing too.
Roll through.
What's it called? Now, this is not. I could not find this myself, but I thought this was just worth pointing out because we've been talking a little bit more about these. Terrion Arnold over 4.5 tackles and assists. The second leading tackler for the Detroit Lions is actually Terrion Arnold. He's been targeted a lot. I just mentioned the 15 targets, the 10 receptions that he's allowed. So that, I think, is going to be something that matters. He should be targeted at a high volume once again tonight. You tell me if this is too in the weeds. The Ravens, through 2 games, 27 of their rushing attempts have either come off tackle and or in the form of a jet sweep on the outside. Okay. Putting corners to work. So I have a corner who's probably going to get highly targeted against an offense that likes to run outside. They should increase in targets as well this game in a high possession, high scoring, up and down affair potentially. Terrion Arnold over 4.5 tackles and assists. And again, the and assist part's pretty important because you can get there pretty quickly if you're going to have this high volume of work that I expect. So just thought that was worth mentioning again with the defensive props. So maybe a little too hardcore in the run direction stuff, but thought it was worth looking at.
6 tackles each of the first 2 games.
Right.
Him,
I mean, yeah,
right?
he's met the number each time, and I was surprised to learn that he was their second leading tackler. So that's got to be something that's worth looking at as well.
Best Bets is always presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, GBank is built with sports bettors in mind. Right now, you can earn $50 in cashback reward bonus once you're approved and your account is open with the GBank Visa Signature Card. Most credit card, street sportsbook, and gaming transactions is cash advances, even when it's your own money. GBank treats them as regular purchases. That means no cash advance fees, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit right there. Plus, you get 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on anything else you buy. Apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's vsin.com/gbank. I wanted to talk through some of the betting data that was posted from BetMGM for the most bet props today, and think if we should fade or follow just for fun. Most bet prop of the day, we mentioned it off the top earlier when we were having that conversation with Russell Brown. Rashad Bateman under 2.5 receptions. Everybody seems to think that he's going to have a slow day. Do you agree?
I mean, I don't know what would tie into that being, like, what's the signal there?
Russell Brown, when he came on with us, he said that could actually be a position that is worth looking for more of an over.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could point to he had fewer, I think, snaps in week 2, but is that because they started to pull away late in the game? I don't know if that's going to be the case. I just don't know what the signal is there that, like, points to that. I just haven't really dove into it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just don't know what exactly is out there that would lead you in that direction, especially for it to be the most bet one, considering usually those lists are a lot of overs.
Yep. The others, DeAndre Hopkins over 1.5 catches, Jared Goff over 34.5 pass attempts, Jahmyr Gibbs over 24.5 receiving yards. And this is one that we talked about. Like, I did like this prop. It just creeped up a little bit too much from 20.5 to as high as 26.5 in the market. Zay Flowers to have a rushing yard is another one. So people getting a little interested, see if he can get a run play. Most bet players to score anytime touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown plus 130. Derrick Henry, guess what the price is?
For anytime touchdown?
Yeah.
Got to be like minus 250.
Close, minus 225.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Jahmyr Gibbs,
high total.
Jahmyr Gibbs minus 120, Lamar Jackson plus 135, DeAndre Hopkins plus 350. So yeah, Derrick Henry, if you're targeting, you got to go 2+ touchdowns or something like that to have anything worthwhile. But what do you think about Lamar Jackson plus 135? High total game, get in the red zone, Lamar run it in?
I mean, if the market's right and how volatile and high scoring this is, it would make a ton of sense. By the way, you said it was Zay Flowers for the rushing, 1 rushing yard, right?
Yes.
So he's had 3 rushing attempts in the first 2 games. So I think that's probably why they've been using him quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, that would make sense in that Lamar does find the end zone. If you're going to pull out all the stops, if you will, and try to do everything in a game like this where you're, again, on the surface, looking at an opponent that's going to push you to score as many points as humanly possible in the span of a 60-minute football game, I think this is going to be it. By the way, I did add a bet for next week.
Oh,
Did I tell you this?
Roll it out. No, I didn't. I didn't know.
You know where we're going. Come on. I can't do this with the Steelers team anymore. I need my chunk of flesh.
How much money are you losing betting against the Steelers,
What are you talking about? Yes. Last week was their first cover. No.
ATS, I forgot.
No, these losers are going down. So let's do this. Vikings minus 2.5 across the pond in Dublin. It's a play of principle. Under a field goal for a Vikings defense that has been this good against a Steelers offense, which has been among the worst in the NFL. Yes, despite the fact that, what'd you say? He and Caleb Williams, league leaders in touchdown passes?
Yes, they both have 7, most in the NFL right now.
Their offense stinks. So, let's go. I will trust again in Minnesota and Carson Wentz to get this thing done. They got it done with flair, if you will. A lot of moxie over the weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals. Doing it again. Let's go.
Are you a Carson Wentz believer after one performance?
No.
Where he didn't really have to do much.
I mean, I'll never forgive Carson Wentz for going into Jacksonville as a starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts and losing that game and not getting into the postseason, despite the fact that I had some very good Colts AFC tickets. But other than that, yes, I believe in him.
It is fascinating, though, for him to be having started games for the 6th team in 6 years is kind of what. How much of his issues have been actually like his performance versus his personality being something that's taken a different way?
Personality?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Hasn't he gotten some criticism?
Oh, no, hold on. I got to give you this now. Hold on.
What? Hurry. We've only got 30 seconds.
Hold on. Let me look this up because he has an incredible food truck company.
Oh,
Hell
I know.
yeah.
I know.
The Kingdom Crumb?
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, why would you hate that guy?
Because I've heard people do.
He's wasn't he a big game hunter or something like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know during COVID he rubbed some people the wrong way, but
The Kingdom Crumb's pretty good,
then,
though.
I don't know. Yeah, that thing's awesome. Okay, interesting way for us to end the show today. Thanks for hanging out with us. We had fun. Enjoy Monday Night Football. And for more on this game and so much more, Follow the Money is up here next. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard breaking it down. Have a great day.